Thank you. Thank you for this invitation, and it's been very fascinating so far, seeing such amazing presentations. I wanted to, I'm going to try to keep to time. I just wanted to say that, in a way, the title of this conference is rather conveniently aligned to a book we're making on a project we're doing. The project is in France, in the south of France. It's been something of a labor of love for 10 years now. And it's all about time, continuity, and coherence. So, an idea of continuity and coherence is perfectly captured in the landscape painting by Paul Cézanne in 1886 of this small hamlet, Méroul, in the foothills of the Mont Sainte-Victoire mountain range in the south of France. The repeated use of a single material for walls, roofs, the scale of its built volumes, and the angle of its roofs coalesce to form a collective body of buildings. Cézanne's colour palette, though varying in tone, presents considerable homogeneity, in spite of the fact that this range of buildings would have likely been built by many different individuals and come about over a very long period of time. What we can take away from this is that during the few hundred-year period this hamlet evolved, a culture of construction grew slowly over time. Good solutions were found by one generation and passed to the next, with only the smallest adjustments of change made. Such characteristics remain constant, like the depth of buildings, their spans governed by available tree maturity, timber lengths, and the shallow roof angles broadly suitable for the weather conditions of the region. Other characteristics, such as the dressing of windows, vary as techniques of weathering improved and eased the construction through gradually imported products as they came into use. The individuals that made places like Méroul had time on their hands. This was a slow architecture where towns and villages were built little by little. They evolved and could reflect with time the lessons from their predecessors. Choices were always made with economy in mind. Products, materials were locally sourced as the economics of construction naturally dictated. But today, our industry has sped up so fast as the global sourcing of products and materials present us with a dizzying array of choices and decisions to make. This condition within which all of us, architects, builders, developers, are confronted, brings with it great dilemmas of artistic, moral, and ethical dimension as we weigh up how to make buildings that make sense of our loci, of what vernacular means in this global environment, and how we can pursue environmentally sustainable and economically deliverable architecture. Indeed, whether we should be building new buildings at all anymore. Our project here at the Moulin de Croisance, in the remote mountains of the Cévennes National Park, has presented us with many questions of how to build today. Scheduled for completion in 2026, this small hamlet will be host to a range of social, cultural, and educational activities. It will be energy independent, grow food from its terraced landscapes, and process water from its source. Most of the buildings in this region are constructed from schist, a young slate. In many ways, it's a poor form of stone with which to work, compared to, say, limestone or granite. Such elements as lintels and sills require configuring the stone in particular ways to combat the effect of shear load. Walls, invariably thick, possess good thermal mass, but would be but would have been high labour intensive and economically challenging to do today. That said, the fabric of these buildings was free of charge and transportation costs zero. They are quite literally dug from the ground. The sloping terrain of the region informs the way to build. The shortest possible distance to move stone, that which is dug out from the upper slope, transferred by gravity to the lower part. A method used on both landscape walls as well as building structures, as seen here in this image. Sometimes enormous pieces of stone, a ton in weight, are prized away and slid from one side of the path to the other. Indeed, whole landscapes are constructed. Constructions of this kind, slowly evolving over generations to form horizontal ground for animal grazing and food production. But what brings a beautiful simplicity to the towns and villages of this region is indeed, as I have commented, the single use of one material, the sheer economy of that. The stone is inventively used for almost everything: walls, roofs, floors, and its details. This singular intensity brings a strong sense of continuity and coherence to these places. But the question of how to add new buildings today and renovate existing, for us, lies in its history. Over 500 years, this place has evolved. The idea of mend and make do was almost a kind of societal mantra. Make do with what you have, here in a place where resources, let alone money, were scarce. But the principle of using what you have to hand, what's available, of repair and reuse, is naturally what you would do. Observing the many instances of this has been a great source of inspiration to us, as well as a kind of building philosophy. Here in these images, roofing stone has been recycled. Previously used broken pieces have been trimmed, regraded, and reconfigured to use in the diminishing scale for the tiles as the roof plane ascends. Seldom was lead or zinc used for valley junctions or other demanding weathering conditions. Here in this photograph, the stones are gently made to arc between the adjacent roof planes. It's incredibly functional, practical, and very long-lasting. It's also rather beautiful, both as an idea and a form of craftsmanship. And here in this photograph, the ridge adopts a kind of invention of a ridge, in a way. The ridge adopts a kind of oversail as protection from the prevailing wind. Whilst here, in this image, neither roof plane faces the predominant wind, so an even stitch is developed, whereby each stone is cut to interlock with the next. Invention often comes with limited means, and the culture of this place is rich in many wonderful examples of this. In spite of its layered and sometimes flaky constitution, the stone of this region, like many things you would work with, you find its limits, you do what you can, of human ingenuity, invention, you find that solution. Its chimney stacks, its flashing details here. Locks and catches, lintels and doorways, stairs and guarding supports. Across the project of the Moulin de Croisance are a few new buildings, such as this small conciergerie or entrance house that creates a western gate to the central public space. Here we have been exploring how new external wall construction could be delivered more economically without the high skill, high labour intensity of traditional construction, yet whose material presence could feel close to the atmosphere and spirit of the old buildings. Sitting adjacent to an existing building, the new conciergerie walls are back-poured with a timber formwork. Pieces of schist placed freely within a mould and poured back with a soft mix of lime and sand mortar. It's a process or an idea that we've been experimenting with in some earlier projects, such as these sills and lintels of these brick houses in the south of England that utilise the waste brick from an adjacent building site. Time it takes, but labour and cost it doesn't. And similarly, here in this project we made a few years ago in Somerset, it's a cowshed which uses the waste gravel from the on-site quarry to form a kind of frontispiece or barcaça, colonnade and facade to the agricultural shed behind it. Of all the existing buildings within the hamlet we're working on in France, most have undergone thermal enhancement whilst maintaining substantially their construction matter, the walls, the roofs, the fabric. In many cases, whole roof and beam assemblies have been lifted off for repair and splicing before being double reboarded with hemp panel insulation. Elsewhere, when buildings and parts of buildings have fallen into total disrepair, their material fabric reused and recycled, sometimes without adjustment. And I love the matter-of-fact reusing of old bits of stone in a kind of unconscious, unaesthetic way. Stone that's clearly and previously had another life before. Again, I mean, this project is full of these things. This old door whose base has rotten with age uses zigzag stitch. It's a very old idea. You see this all over ancient France. The up and down nature of the joint being inherently structural. Again, it's a matter of fact way of doing something, obvious, but also very beautiful. Again, similarly, these ancient chestnut windows, which for us possess a rich character, they're almost like antiques, and to throw them away, even though they were partially rotted, was just not what we wanted to follow doing in this project. So here they've been carefully repaired, spliced into with new wood to replace localized areas of decay, and their rebates deepened to take double-glazed units. It's a labour of love, but actually, and it's time, but actually in the end it's a very cheap thing to do. As part of the project, interior, we've sought to restore and work with its given qualities, embracing the imperfections. And we love the imperfections of this place, its surface detail. This is a roof that is sort of on one level not so well built, but very elegant when it's cleaned. But within the ambience of these late medieval interiors, we've sought to design various elements of interiors, such as staircases, furniture, range of furniture, and whose form and detail possess a kind of medievalism. So nearly there, but what's my conclusion from all of this? I suppose compared with everything we do in London, which is essentially social housing at pace, this makes me think, slow down, think about what we're doing. Mies, I believe he was born here, he says less is more, and Venturi, maximalist, said less is a bore. And we keep saying, let's do more with less. So it's not about creativity of architecture, that's always going to be present, however modest. In a recent letter to our new Labour government, yes, we have a socialist government now in the UK, in a recent letter on the pressing, that I wrote on the pressing matter of housing, I advocated a 7-point manifesto towards achieving its number one aim, addressing the effect of climate change, and contains, amongst other things, rehabilitation of existing buildings where possible over new, and with it, a kind of national programme of reuse, recycling centres. We should think about centres of building fabric, products and materials. The construction industry, I think we all know, contributes a staggering 37% of global emissions and is a major contributor to landfill waste. And, I'm sure many of you know, in Brussels, we're always impressed with this amazing cooperative Rotar, this company that organises the reuse of construction materials. It's a very interesting model, and to this end, every element of modern construction is stocked, coded, resold, and reused, from beams, bricks, windows, doors. It's an ancient idea, and we should think about it again. Thank you.